to horizontal. So you see here that it's red, which means it's in a held position. It's not retracted completely, which would be what we would call releasing it, and that would just drop it all the way down. If I want to move to a horizontal, then it's still going to be red, but it's going to be in the horizontal position. Here now in the window says release, so if I hit this, it's going to release it. It's going to do what it shows in that position. So if I want to go back to horizontal, it goes to horizontal, but it's red because it's now not in the released position. Or if you want to move to a specific lift, you can lift it. I only want to lift it 5 millimeters. Now it's only going to lift from where it's currently positioned 5 millimeters, right? Or if I want to release it again, I would release it down. Or if you do option from this position, I can just, go 2 minus, and from this position, it's going to lower it 2 millimeters minus. So you have complete capability of positioning the probe to limits, plus or minus some amount from wherever you're sitting, go to horizontal. I use horizontal quite a bit because when I move to a position near the surface, I get it as close as I can and then I can release it. Releasing allows this probe to move within its travel when it's released, right? So, that's something to consider. So, midpoint down here, these are just like when we're programming to collect the data. You can auto stop. This would be the auto stop, so it's going to come down until this deflects to its center point. So it'll keep moving down until it senses and touches something. Now, if there's something prohibiting it here, it touches here, it's going to push up against the limit. So there's over travels, there's over travel limits, there's pressure sensor switches so that it'll trip out an error. Okay, so those are safety functions within the system itself. Okay, so like if I push on this, if it would have hit a fixture or something, then it gives me an error. So then all I do is say okay, and then release that error, so it doesn't kind of protects the tool. Later on when we program, we can give operator prompts during a run of a program where we want to, tell the operator to go do something during the run of the CNC, so he or she can intervene with the joystick to do whatever's prompted on the windows. It'll be text, or it can be text and photo, picture. You can prompt a picture, just point to a window directory, a file directory explorer, and then you can have window setups. I'm going to put some things that I did in the office prior to. I'll put them on the folder in the data, and we can also utilize some of those programs. I'm just going to use them. They should, for the most part, work. We may have to edit them a little bit, but I doubt it, But we can prompt the operator. Midpoint is just like a go-to position that records in space the readout that you see here, and then X in column, which is pretty much just a positional move. And then auto stop I just mentioned, and then later on you can move around here in the X, either absolute or relative. Absolute's based on an origin, either machine origin or part origin. Relative is just going to be an incremental move. You're going to go relative from this point to this point, right? And you can control the distance or location, depending on its absolute, it's a location. Relative is a distance, and then the speed of it. So right now, this would move based on wherever 0 is, minus 90, so at least I know it'd be going this direction at high speed, but it'll probably 90 millimeters. This is only 100 millimeters. It would run into the limit switch and then just trigger an error, right?
Well, absolute would be machine 90.
Yeah.
Relative would be try to go 90 full. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
This one is absolute, so it's going to come right now machine 90.
Here's a question: why did they put the numbers? Considering this is 0.
I know.
And it's like, of course, it's negative, so it's like.
Yeah, I don't know what it is too. Is when they initialize, they want to move away from the part, figuring the part envelope, measuring envelopes here. So when they want to initialize, they move to the right limit away from the part, not into the part. And when they move up, they move away from the part. And that's where 0 is here. So everything is 0 is negative. Everything to the right is 0. To the right is 0 basically. And then moving to the left is negative. But the scale here
It's positive.
is positive. It shows 0 and 100. So it just depends. You got to be aware of, you know, how you set up your origin, where your origin is. And then you can, you know, do the same for column. So, you know, right now, I'll talk about this later, we're not recording. So if I move relative in the column 50 millimeters, and you can control the speed, so now it's just gonna move, you know, 50 millimeters up. Positive, it's gonna go 50 millimeters from its current position and stop. So, you know, stuff like that. So in the measurement window, you can control all your positioning. If you want to start a measurement, you'll see, you know, you'll hit the measurement here, hopefully based on some conditions I'll show you in a second. But, you know, this is where you collect the data and make moves to, you know, get to the surfaces that you want to make the traces. Once you've collected the data, then the other window, the second window, so this is positioning, auto stop, you know, Z positioning, right? It's the measure, well, it's the measure of the profile. It's basically collecting the trace. And then the second window is the analysis window. Is once you have the data, then you'll see when you go to the analysis window, right? You lose the level meter, you lose the readouts, which is, you know, I refer to it sometimes as the dashboard. You know, measuring window, you have your dashboard there. So you have all the positionings and your auto stop and you know, the prompt if you want to do for joystick control. All that's gone. Right now you're strictly working with your report view and doing whatever analytical, whether it's analytical to create geometry or you're analytical to do surface texture. So that's all done in the analysis window. There's only 2 windows. What exists in both windows is the data pool, and the data pool shows what you've done. What is in the tree here is, you know, traces that you've made. If you import data, we'll talk about that down the road or when I come back or whatever. That's really if you're going to bring in maybe like IGIST or DXF, you're going to do profile overlays, right? We use that. You'll see that reside in the import. Process data is if you take something and then you've altered it or massaged it or something like that. You'll see the process data appear. And then analysis data is each one of the analyticals that you've done within the report. So like if I, see Tom's gone in here, if I click on this frame, it jumps, well this is then, it relates, oh this is number 2. If I go down here, that's number 5 analysis. So it knows which one is which. Okay. So these are traces with results. So you can see that he made, if I went up here in the tree, he's made 8 measurements within his program routine. And I can slide this window over a little bit just so I can see a little bit. There's a little bar over here that you can move and slide the window so I can see. So he's made 8 physical traces. And then associated with those 8, he's got 8 analytical analysis for roughness, which is what we see in the report. He's got RA and some graphs associated with those roughness analysis, okay? So the data pool is just your data management. It, you know, allows you to see what's in the report and what you see here, it says roughness number 1 is associated with roughness number 1 in the data measured. Okay, so they're kind of linked. This analysis number 1 came from the trace number 1, right? So they're numerically linked per se. Okay, but I can take number 1 data and I can create a new analysis where it says now analysis data, and I can go in and I can do, let's say, waviness, right? And I can say okay, and now I've just added to his report, and if you look, now there's a waviness number 9 analysis, and I created it from the first trace. I just took that data set and say, now I want to do waviness, and then I can, later on here, I can say I want to do waviness average and total, and then get the results on this graph, this analysis for waviness. I'm just showing you that in the data pool, how they're linked and how you can, the data's there, you can create new analysis. So this one right here, I can just delete it. You don't want to delete the data that you traced.
As long as it doesn't save it, I'm fine.
Huh? You're gonna lose it.
Yeah.
I mean, you can always delete the analysis, you can always recreate the analysis. But if you delete the data, you've lost the data to create the analysis, so you gotta be careful. If you're gonna do that, you wanna make sure that you're deleting just the analysis. And this is just an empty page. I can delete the empty page. Then down here in the lower left in analysis, I can go to the very beginning, which is from the start, and then I can just index page 2, page 3, page 4, or I can jump back 1 page, or I can go all the way back to this top at the beginning. So the analysis window is where we create the results, and we create graphs, and we create the information that we see here. So one thing is to keep in mind, we call this all-in-one. The software ActiPro is like all-in-one. So he's given it a file name, actuator, and our extension is ATS. So I'm just gonna write here, the analysis window basically is either geometric on this machine, whoop, spelled it wrong, and then roughness analysis or evaluation, and then surface texture analysis, evaluation, and it's actually your report layout. So how we want to show the layout, like Tom was trying to duplicate this layout with graphs and results and a display header information there. He put a logo on there just like their logo. You found how to do that. So it's how you create the report, and you can do what I call post-processing with the data. If you want to change some of the evaluation criteria, you can change that. In this, you can do export on some of the information, export the data through the analysis window, right? And then the only other thing is the data pool that I spoke of just briefly is just, I'll call it the data management, and that's with your measured traces, and then your analysis or your import of special data or data that's been altered. So there's basically 2 windows. What I'm going to do is at break time, I'll go in and change this and make the icons larger and only really put what I think is going to be useful and quick to use. And then on the right-hand side of the toolbar, you'll be able to just change with touching an icon between the 2 windows, going from the measure window to the analysis window, right? And then the data pool exists in either window that allows you to see what's happening here. So if you see a little plus or a minus, that means you can expand and you can see what exists within that tree. There's 8 analysis, okay? And then I'll talk about this area here afterwards, and then the same over here when we get into this functionality, which is really related to this CNC function, which is to do your macros. If you're gonna do anything repetitive, all you need to do is really set up the part, maybe give the operator some instruction, and then they can either step through it or run through it consecutively and execute a program with guided prompts. If you want to do that. You don't have to do a program. I got a lot of customers that just put a part up there, and then I'm in roughness, and they have, just want to just bring the probe down on it like just a standard profilometer and hit the measure button and get a result and just want to see a number. Then go back and do something else. If they want to, they can add more parameter, surface parameter calculations, doing like RZ and RT or something else. They just want to get a result and not run a program, not execute anything through a sequence in the CNC tab. The CNC is a part program, right? And a part program could have, like what he's got here, he's got measurements, he's got auto stop, he's got positionings, he's got prompt with the pause. It could be elaborate, or the CNC could be just a single command line. We call these command lines. It could be a single command line that says measure. And then you still have to move the stylus to where you want to put it. And then when you execute, it's just a measure sequence, just like as if you hit measure. So he's opening up an
I'll
existence.
start roughness position.
Okay. Man, this guy is good. Because I have a lot of customers.
If you want to print something to somebody, because it says send me the report.
Yeah.
This basically is just got like a little header, right now just RA.
Yeah, because if you
And-
want to see the report, you got to go to the analysis window. So that's what this is. He's saying it's got a little information, it's got the header, and it's got a graph.
It's 1 page.
It's 1 page, it's simple. He's only has
You fixture it over your part, tell it to auto
on
stop.
stop. When he
then-
hits the run button, it
And then
comes
you
down.
can explain, like in a CNC program, you can change individual lengths and measurement units prior to running it.
Yes, so
Because you might have like, oh, we need to check that. We need different cutoffs, we need different lengths.
yes. So even at its simplest level, without running a program or a macro through the CNC, you can just put the stylus down physically, joystick it down on the part itself, which is like, just want to bring it down here, right?
Now, here's a question before you, since you have that in a retracted position, will it, if you did the CNC right now with the auto stop, will it know to, because you had it in a retracted position.
Oh yeah, I didn't even notice that. Yeah, I had it in a retracted
So-
position.
At this point, what would you have to do? Release it?
Yeah, normally you would, and anytime you see red here, normally you would want to release the probe so it's fully senses,
Okay.
right?
Then you could run it.
Now you could run this, but what I'm saying is, in its simplest format, you can just bring the probe down, joystick it, and hold it. It'll come to its, what I call its midpoint, its neutral position, and you hear the little beep, which means it's searching out and it's found its midpoint position. And then, in this window, you have the option to look and see what the current scan measurement information is. So you can see it's a 4 millimeter trace measuring at 0.3 millimeters, which is the standard 0.3 or 0.6, the scan rate. Gaussian filter, it's going to look at 0.8, And so this is kind of like the basic information. If you want to double click, now you can expand it and you can change it. So this one is set to, basic condition. This is going to do roughness, which, we can do other things like waviness and special roughness filtering, and unfiltered is what we call profile. But this is going to do roughness, and it's going to do 5 sample lengths of a 0.8 cutoff, because he has 0.8 here, 30 thousandths is kind of like a traditional, right? A Gaussian is the current ISO and ASME filter type, and it's going to do a least squared line form removal. I'll come back to this, but even if this part was slightly out of level, as long as from the start of the trace to the end of the trace it stays within this window, it's going to mathematically level the data. So we take the tilt out of the trace if it's not perfectly set up. It doesn't have to be perfectly level when we trace, as long as it doesn't go off scale or what we call out of range. And it will automatically level the data based on least squared. I mean, we have other form removal functions I'll talk about later, that, if you have more of a complex surface, or if it's a radius surface, then we can remove the circle or remove through a spine fit. But it's just a way to, I'm gonna call it, normalize the surface as best as you can before you start applying the filter and calculating roughness. Because for RA, and especially like RT, which is total, we don't want that tilt or that out of level to be part of the calculation, right? We don't, just because it's not leveled perfectly flat, parallel to our datum here, we don't want that tilt to be part of the calculation. So this takes the tilt, the out of level, before it calculates the RA or the RZ or the RT, right? So this is very important form removal. Okay, and then in the measurement, you can initiate, releasing the probe automatically. So no matter what, when you hit the measurement button, it releases the probe before it starts the trace. So that can be check marked and be part of all your automatic measurements, where, if you forget, when you hit the measure button, it's gonna wait a second and release the probe if it hasn't been released, and then make the trace, okay? And then also, I don't check mark this, but you can have it automatically return. You can move the column up at the end of the trace. You can check mark this and then put, at the end, it's automatically gonna lift the column up 5 millimeters to clear the part, which is, a lot of people do it, it's a little bit of a safety. It just gets the stylus. And then you don't even have to use the joystick. It makes the trace and lifts up. Then you can move it, or then move it to a clear point, whatever. So you're not touching the part and not possibly damaging the tool. So here's showing you in the measurement information what it's currently set to do. So what I was explaining here is all I can do is come touch the surface and I can hit the measure button. If I go to File and say a new document, now I'm in an unnamed document. I'm not going to alter what he just opened up just a second ago. It's still there in the window drop down. He had one called, was it the blank? Yeah. So he had a blank report, which was a basic report that in the analysis did this, right? And I'm going to come back to the measurement window, right? And I'm in a new document. My new document is this one that's unnamed. It's called document number 14. You can see there's nothing in the data pool and there's nothing in the CNC. But it puts me in, and I'll get to this later on, it puts me in a recording mode right now. So if I ever wanted to redo it, it puts me in a recording mode. I can just leave it as it is because I can close this file and not reuse it, or I can just say I'm not going to record anything. But if you want to reuse it, you got to record the trace, and it has to be typically what we call recorded in the CNC if you ever wanted to reuse it. But here in its simplest format, I can just hit measure. So it's doing a trace, it's moving you know, 5 samples of 30 thousandths or 0.8, it's going to do a 4 millimeter trace. There, up on the scale says 4 millimeters, 2 millimeters, so that's the length. And I don't have it raising the stylus. I don't have it moving up. It's just going to give me, you know, a pre-layout, which right now this is a 0.4, almost a 0.5 RA. I'm going to get rid of these graphs so they don't default. I can turn those off. I think what I'm going to just, you know, do is the parameter, this header information, and at least a graph. And at any point, you can just, you know, you can right click and delete the graph if you don't want the graph. I'll explain, you know, what else we can do here, but this one I don't want. I can just right click it and delete it, and then you can position these frames on how you want to look at the report. Bring the graph down. But exactly what he had done, you know, this would be, you know, I call it, some customers that I have call it, you know, he called it blank, but it would be like a basic roughness template. Just you want to do basic roughness, and, you know, I could save this, and then it would be this report just as it looks here, and I would get the value here, wherever I leave it, and I can call this blank number 2, or I can call this just roughness template, and this would be just a 1 parameter, 1 graph report, and it would always look like that. So,
You opened up a new document yet that says part name and part number filled in from something before. Why is that?
this right here, this
Yes.
right here,
In the auto run feature, when you do a CNC, you can tell it to start a scan,
yeah.
and you can fill in that
Yeah, you can
information.
fill in that, right. So, in this, I would probably put a prompt in here. I don't use this information right here for my comments. I'll get to this later on. I use this information here, which is called our data info. This data info, I only usually put the date, the time, and what the measuring conditions were. We have another box that I would gonna train you on where it's blank, and at the beginning, and I think this is the way you're normally gonna run it, when you hit the execute, you're gonna be able to populate it. It's gonna bring it up immediately,
Okay.
and then, you know, you can just fill in and create these items, whatever they are. If you want to put serial number, machine cell, job number, project number, you know, customer name, you can then, that prompt will then allow you to populate this before the trace starts. So this data info allows for that, but it's carrying over from before, and I don't want that. I want the operator to input whatever they're doing relative to the sample that they've got, right? So I'm gonna change that. I'm gonna retrain you on that here in a second. But you can do this, and if you want, then, or excuse me, see here I can't edit it. This one is the function that I want to use, which is the comment box. I'll just move this over. This comment box is where we'll put this information that will, I'll delete these, I'll uncheck this, and this is what we'll use, and then this will be prompted. And then if I ever wanted to go back, I can go back and always edit or change it just by clicking on that box, and then I can always, even after the fact, put information there. You know, overwrite it, overtype it, put information there. Okay?
I've seen that, I just didn't know how to put my,
Yep.
you can't,
Yeah.
where to edit it.
Yep. So we'll use this comment box, and with that comment box, if we put a statement at the very beginning here that says comment, it looks to the report and says, oh, there's the comment frame. Then it prompts the operator to populate whatever they want to populate in that with a statement here that looks for this frame so that they can input information there. So I'll take one step back. You can open up a document, not even name it, just check in the measurement window, check what the measurement current information was, and that was what was whatever was left previous, right? But if I want to change that, you would just either double click, or I'm going to put a mouse up, I'm going to put an icon right here that says, where is it? It's this one. And it's the same thing as if I click from the toolbar or in the menu bar, it's this same icon right here, opens up, or I can just double click anywhere in here, and it opens up a measurement condition. So you can get from the menu bar, you can get from the toolbar, or you can just double click on the right side, opens up those conditions. But you can see what the current conditions were left as. If that is okay, then you can hit the measure button. It's gonna make this trace as per these measurement conditions. And this is typical. This is probably gonna do 95% of your jobs is gonna be this. But in the case where you have a short surface, you may wanna change that, right? So, one step above of just opening up a document, a blank document, checking this and hitting the measure button, I'm glad you did it. You can have a blank template or a roughness template that is just flexible, no matter what you measure, you can use, and that layout and the information that you have here will always be populated, so you don't have to reposition what this is, right? You can add the comment box here, right? I would recommend having the comment box here, something like that, right? And then your result, and then maybe a graph if you want to look at the graph. Do auto, that's your auto graph. Right? So this would be kind of like a template. He called it blank. He called it blank. Could call it blank roughness. So
I just gave it a name.
Yep. But the thing is here, I see only 2 mistakes. No, I don't see a mistake. I maybe do see a mistake. Maybe not. We can add at the very beginning this comment into the line. So there was I'll come back to it, there's a little icon here that's associated with programming for the CNC. It's an editor. And I just added this command line, which now looks and sees that I put a comment box there. So when I execute this, it will prompt the operator. There's no instruction here that says the operator just to move it to the surface. I guess we have to assume that, but we could put a prompt that says move right above your measure surface that you want to trace, right?
Go ahead and put that in.
Okay, so we go back to the editor. Or actually it's in the measurement screen, right? And we look at the CNC. And now, instead of this little says command add, this says command insert, this says stop recording. So when you're done making your routine, it's not gonna, whatever we do is not gonna be added to the program. But if I wanna insert something, I wanna insert right above this auto stop, so it's gonna insert above this highlighted line. If I highlight this, then it's gonna insert above this position. Or if I highlight here, it's going to insert right above this position command line. If I hit command add, it always adds to the end of the list. So I want to insert above the auto stop, and I'm going to put in a joystick because the joystick allows the operator to move the machine. So I'm going to put in here and I'm gonna say joystick the stylus just above the sample surface. Then continue, because it's going to allow me to continue. And I'm going to change this to red. And I'm going to change this font to bold, and I'm going to make it larger. And there's no picture right now, but you can add a picture if you wanted to. You can play music. And I have customers that play music or play something with an audio. You can do it even in audio. Instead of this, you can do an audio and tell the operator. But at a minimum, I'm going to tell them joystick the stylus just above the sample surface, then continue. So now when I say okay, there won't be any picture. It'll just be the prompt. So there it is right here. And I'm going to save this. Now I just updated this, so I saved it, right? And I can run this as just a blank, which will now tell the operator, or give the operator the option to input some text, tell them move the stylus above the surface, and then it's going to auto stop, make the measurement, and then it's going to move the column up 25 millimeters, and then it's going to release the probe. So it's already in a released position, I'm assuming, right? So it's down, so you can see the indicator is down, we're just hanging down there. So he kind of leaves it for the next run, which is it's in a down position. So one thing is, and I'll run this, if you want, in the CNC, if you go to the measurement this is the measurement window. Where am I here? The data pool. Let's say I had a part that I needed to take right now a longer length. So you can highlight the original data, the way it was traced, and I can change right here. And here's where I can say I want to measure this a little bit faster, 0.6, and I want to go 6 sample lengths, and I'm just going to check everything else, just make sure it's okay. So here I was able to take, this was the original way it was traced, but here I have the option within this blank to customize, which is what you were saying. I can customize the trace. If I need to go longer, I can go longer. If I need to go shorter, I can go shorter. If I want to change, I want to make a measurement that's now a waviness instead of a roughness, I have that option to change it here. So this still gives you the flexibility of customizing how you're going to make the measurement, no matter what the part is, in this simple little blank program. So all I did was alter the speed and I altered the length. So now I'm going to run the CNC, and I can run it. The green run means run it from the beginning. If we start down here, green run means run it from the beginning. The blue arrow means step it from the very top, the beginning. Later on, you can jump within the program and do the run or the step anywhere within the command lines. So you don't always have to start from the very beginning. That's what these are the same functions as down here, except that down here, it always initiates the run from the first command line, or starts stepping from the first command line. Stepping is usually I do to prove out a program, so I want to make sure I'm going through each step slowly and making sure it's what I want to do. And that's what we're going to do right here. So we're going to step from the beginning, and so it highlights the first line, and then I hit it again, that executes it. There's the prompt. And these, later on, we can do drop boxes so that I can put, family of part names. So instead of typing, if I click on here, I'll have a list of parts, your actuator, what was the other ones?
You can drop down plus
Notch
freeform.
plate.
like if you do the drop down and your part's not there yet, you can add?
Yeah, you can do, well, yeah, you can do that. Right, you can just type over the top and later on you can add it, but you can have part numbers.
Yeah.
You know, you can change the order of any of these titles. I'll show you that a little bit down the road here. This one right now, I wanna call this remark. That's kind of like a free box that allows the operator to put in anything relative to this measurement that they want to communicate on the report, right?
One of those, you know?
Now it moves to the next line, and I'm going to step this,
Tool into that one.
and now it says joystick the stylus above the sample surface, then continue. There's my continue. So now this is where I bring it down, and I just bring it close to the surface, and then I say continue. The next line is it's going to auto stop. Tom had auto stop, so it's going to come down. And then it's going to make the measurement, so it moves to the next line. I want to step that.
That's where I put in the,
Oh, so yeah, okay. You can do this, except that it's done in the middle of the sequencing of the CNC.
yeah.
So the other one, I can have it start at the very beginning, so then it just run, you know, if I hit the green arrow, it doesn't
No,
stop.
That's why, it's,
It's either or.
well, it's just that I was trying to mimic how they did theirs, and I seen that comment, and it's like, cause I don't know, there's something that's like, I seen that comment where there's a list of comments, but it didn't have the rest of the information. But using theirs is kind of like mimicking their report. It's like it's not, you're gonna have two boxes instead of one box, and that's where I was trying to
Yeah.
keep it like that.
Okay, if you want to keep with,
But for, let's say for this, a blank one where they just wanted, hey, check the surface finish of this little part, blah, blah, blah. Maybe the comment section and a little small one that says, because this one, the other comment doesn't have a header to it, does it? Like where the other one has, what is this column and what is this column? One says it's the description or the title and then description, whatever it calls it. Kind of like there, it's, what's the one, I can't see what the.
title and content.
Okay, so.
The other one says the same thing, title and content. I'll show you.
Did it?
Yeah.
Maybe because I didn't have anything in there.
Yeah. And then, so it's making its measurement. Now instead of 4 millimeters, it's a little bit longer, it's 4.8, because I said, instead of 5 samples, I said 6 samples. So now it finished the trace, and it went a little bit faster. And then I'm gonna step through the last statement, or next two statements, which is now, this is a position of the column. So this is highlighted, here's what it's doing. Here you can see the detail. Column, absolute, 25 millimeters. So that's absolute. So now it's going 25,
I think because originally when he showed us, he never did the surface.
Yeah.
He never did the home,
yeah, he didn't do the home.
and so wherever it thought it was at,
Yeah.
here's 0,
So here's a simple thing to do. I can stop the execution of the run. I can go in here and just double click, change this to relative, so it's no longer based on origin. So I just edited this line, and now I want to pick up from where I am currently, and I'm just going to move this back down a little bit. So now I want to run from the statement that I just did. So now instead of hitting here, I'm just going to highlight this line and say, and I'm just going to run it because these are just 2 position moves. I'm just going to run it from that point. So now it's going to go relative 25 instead of absolute, and it released the probe, which it had been released already. So you can go right in there, and this is why I step it, you know, as I'm going along. Oh crap, I made a wrong thing. I can stop the run of the program. I can go in, double click, change it from absolute to relative, or change the speed or whatever else. Pick up from where I was right at where I was running the program. And then what I didn't do, I didn't want to start at the beginning, so I just highlighted the line, and then I just, you know, I could have started stepping again, but I just ran it from there because all it was 2 moves. It was a position up, and then it was a release of the probe, which was nothing. So I knew it was just going to
So-
lift and then do that.
So the left column starts at whatever one you're highlighting on.
Yes,
The bottom one runs from.
always, yeah, it initiates. Right. Yeah. So like right now, if I want to just highlight this position line again and step it, so then it highlights it and I can step it again, and then it moves at 25 millimeters, and then it moves down to the next line, and I could step through this one, or I can just run it from there, which doesn't do anything. It's already released and finishes the program. And then what it normally does, it goes to the analysis. There's your analysis, right? And so now instead of 4 millimeters, it's 4.8. They don't have the speed here, so you know, I increase the speed, but everything else is the same in the report.
So like your comment box there, that on
This
the
one?
right, yeah. You have to change it to add that other line.
So here you still have the title and the content.
Okay, but it didn't show up on that.
You added remarks.
Oh, because I didn't check mark the remark here. And now
Right.
auto
Right.
justify, so there it is right there. So whatever I want here, I can uncheck or check, and I didn't check the remarks because I added that, so now it's there, and then I typed in the word test.
Well, you see how that one doesn't have the header that we have here.
Oh, it doesn't have this header, I see what
Yeah.
you're saying.
So to get it similar to this, where it's in kind of like one box, I
Yeah.
shortened it up.
But this doesn't have the header either, does it?
Oh, you know what?
This is just
And
like a
maybe when I
comments.
tried doing this, getting this information on that, so I don't have it in one area.
Yeah,
because-
you can't, this is strictly just comments, so this doesn't have the machine conditions and
So
how
I
it
don't
was
know how
traced.
the heck they did that, unless because
This-
it's a different version.
Yeah, different version or they,
Because this information, it doesn't come up with the roughness curve. And of course, the location that I had, location in RA, I had to modify, but you can only get, for me, I couldn't get it any smaller. It's got this big old box, so I don't know how they must have just sent it to the back so that this would be on top. But other than it saying micron, it's like this roughness curve doesn't, it's like I couldn't figure out how to get it on that,
on this.
on the graph. But I went through and I did, yeah, there you go. I had them all on, I think that's default is having them all on, view them all, but it wasn't the same. I was like, okay, well, we don't need that. It has this A1 roughness, so it might be a different version of the software that it's,
Yeah, I don't know what they're
Different
running, if they're
flexibilities.
running the old software TIMS, or are they running ACTI? Did they give you a program?
no,
No, they just give you the hard copy.
they give us a digital copy.
Yeah,
I just
digital
read it,
copy, yeah.
right. They give us a PDF.
I'm not sure what they have over there right now. I have to remember.
'Cause I don't know if Tim's, that was an old,
That's an old version.
it wasn't quite DOS, it was Windows, but,
Yeah, because I quoted them upgrades and they haven't pulled the trigger.
okay.
So I don't care if you have it in your comment box that you made.
Right.
Or if you make a different one, but as long as it prompts you, and it looks like you have it prompted.
Right, in my
You just have it
CNC,
further on
it
in
will.
the
Yeah, his prompt right
it's
here,
As it goes to measure.
where it
right?
goes here, he's got this set up here. So as it goes to measure,
Can you make them drop downs in there? Or no?
That's technically what it's doing when
yes.
it's just before it goes to measure. You
Then it
come down,
prompts.
you probe, it zeros, and then when it goes to the measure, it prompts you to fill in the blank.
Yeah, it's
Now,
linked to this command line.
Unfortunately,
Right.
the last way that program was saved is how it puts it in. So like, when I'm doing my actuators, if I close out everything, don't resave it, it'll still remember that I wasn't on parts 91 when I saved it, but it's now on 94.
Okay.
I think it remembers the last one ran, no matter when you saved the program. I could be wrong on that.
So, if you do it the way you have it programmed,
It'll
it prompts you for that stuff, but can you make those drop down, like you do, like you can in the comments?
I think, yeah,
Can you, oh, you can make it,
yeah, you can, I think these could be where it says edit, I think you can make
well,
those.
edit means that it,
Let's see right here, let's do it right here, and let's do a,
Yeah, I realize that, but I couldn't believe it.
I don't know, can you do a drop down?
that's what this button is here. So if he would have done part names with available whatever he created,
Okay. I
then
didn't-
you can create the-
I never learned how to do the drop downs on this.
Yeah, so here's an example. Let me stop the measurement. So stops the run. So over here under set comment definitions, so here's where you would add, what did you have? Part name?
Part name.
And then over here you have like actuate, or I'm just gonna put a few of them in there, right? Give me another.
Not pocket plate.
What?
Pocket plate.
Pocket plate,
I'll take a look and see.
Oh. notch plate,
Housing.
Super, all right.
housing.
Now, not on your phone, I'll have
Gotta
to
spell it
let
right
you
though,
know.
Mike.
Call my cell phone.
Notch plate, housing, okay, that's a good start. And then
Or you can just try
you
to
can
copy.
add or delete them or whatever. And now I wanna add another,
Cause we
Part-
want part number by itself because without, you don't wanna trying to have a
Right.
list of part numbers.
part number,
If anything, shift. Not saying that we're gonna have an off shift do this, but,
shift. So.
or just even operator,
Operator,
cause that, I mean, that's how they did it here.
serial number,
Yeah, they put operator name, which is initials.
I don't know, I'm just gonna, just so there's something in there. And then operator. This'll give you an idea, right? Operator name. So give me just a couple names.
Tom.
You want them by name or initials? I'm just, so, yeah.
Tina.
Tina. Okay. So now, if you create all these with all the contents or displays, you can save them to a file. You can always upload them and reread them in. That way, you can have them save as a specific
Okay, 'cause right now,
file.
this would be just for this part, this program, correct?
It's saved globally.
Oh, it is?
But yeah,
Okay.
some customers do save and back
Well, if you
that
got
up.
multiple machines, you can share them.
Yeah, and then I'm gonna add remarks.
Yeah, I like that remarks one, cause then you can say it's for a PPAP.
Yeah,
Star.
whatever you wanna communicate to
or
somebody looking at.
correlation,
And each,
Right.
each program has its own flexibility of, you could turn it on,
So you're
turn it
doing
off.
this under comment definition, so is that when we're adding a comment box, or is that going into?
I think it's anywhere where you can take the comment and any of the customizable comments, correct?
Right,
You can't go in where it says Gaussian filter and change it. It's only the ones that are optional comments, so,
right, so if I go back now to the report,
cause then,
like
Just
this
like
one
a
now.
text box or something like that.
but, yeah.
So
because-
now, if I go to part name, these are available to change whatever title I want, but I want part name in this. And then over here, I have actuator, pocket, notch, housing, this is a housing. And then number, I can change whatever title that I've created out of the several. But out of that part number,
Yeah, part
there-
of- we
there-
didn't put a list.
we didn't put a
because
list. And then.
You'd get lost in the fog.
Right, so serial, there's what I typed in for serial, and then for operator, under operator, I have Tom, and under remarks, I had test and PPAP or something like that. So then, you're not typing, you can put your customers, you can
So
create all
if you-
that.
Even if you have the drop down, can you still free type in?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All these are free type. You can do it now when it prompts during the
But
program
again, this is
run.
under the comment section,
Well,
not the data
Not,
info.
not the data info. Normally, I would delete these kind of inputs under this, and now they would strictly be under this, and then they would be prompted at the very beginning of the run instead of halfway down
Mhm.
or 3/4 of the way down if you had a lot of other measurements. I just want them to put the information at the very beginning. So yeah, I mean, under here, we can change that, but now this is here to, you know, and then you can always go back even after in your report. You can still go back and just click it and then still do it at the end of the report. You can still go back and change whatever you want.
It's tight. I got that one in here too.
But you did that? Okay.
Notch plate. If you go to your program over here.
It's already open.
Yep, it's already open. And I had to do, and I don't know if we're gonna continue, we did it, the axial, and then we rotated to do the radial. But yeah, it would be taking off them first couple lines.
Which would be
resizing.
unchecking
Yeah, 'cause
these.
the whole name of item content thing really doesn't,
See, here I fixed it part name.
I see that. But, you know, you'd uncheck these and then these would be in your other box. You know,
Yeah.
if I did this,
We should-
And now you would-
Resize it.
you resize it and then you can put your comment box right above it.
And maybe that's what they did, but then it's, I guess name of item is
Yeah, name of item and content.
yeah, it
It's-
doesn't mean anything.
Doesn't,
I know.
it may
The
not be
item-
relative
the
to
items,
what
the
you're
date,
doing.
But in order to
content
get
is the-
this information, you have to use that box.
That's fine. I would
Right?
do
Yeah,
hybrid
so-
Yeah, because this box here, you're right. They give you comment at the beginning, but really I use this information,
Right.
date, time, length. How was the part measured? What was your calculation cutoff? What was your definition of the form removal? You're using circle here? Were you measuring over an arc?
This side, yes. The first page is.
No. Okay.
If you bring that, round piece, no, there's that one. Standard way is gonna be going axial. So it's a
Axial.
line. For it allow them that, if it's a little bit too rough, you can do a radial, so then this is gonna be a curve.
That's correct.
Circle.
Yes.
So,
So, you know, it can be a combination, but if we have the comment at the very beginning, then we will have that input, right? And here, you know, what I use is just like this information, because that's important, that's important, that's important. You want to compare that, the trace was done apples to apples, not apples and oranges. Especially you want to see at least the cutoff and, you know, the length of trace, whatever they're doing here. And then the date time is important just for
'cause,
archive purposes.
This program was gonna be, there's a serial number stamped somewhere on these, and they're gonna be serialized, so the serial number will show up in,
So if you went back up here,
yeah, where I had the
you had,
serial number.
I think you had this,
Upward format. I don't know why they did that, but microns and millimeters, microns. It was something they did. So the serial number, like this one was 17424. Serial number is gonna be whatever the date stamp is from the center date. So each one is gonna be a separate part, where the other program was for 4 of them. I do the one, switch parts, do the next, switch parts. So I would do batch number 91-1, 91-2, so forth. This one's just gonna be same number, both sides. In between, I have to rotate the part a few times.
and then what I do here is I make the border really thin, gives you more plotting room.
Oh, that's what, and is that for all of them or just that?
We can set it as a global. So now.
Oh, that border.
Yeah, the outside border
Oh,
now.
I was thinking the border on that.
Well, that's just done by this, right?
No, because they highlight, when you highlight them, they get really thick. And it's trying to squeeze too much onto one page. It was very tight trying to get in and out. I
But,
see.
but now you can see you have more room. And then, you know, if you do something like this, if you start at the bottom and you use the shift key, highlight this graph, this graph, this graph, this
You
graph.
can only start from the bottom?
No, but you can.
I tried doing control and it didn't work.
So now I highlight this one. They're all toggled. See, they have the little
Yeah.
boxes, but the last one I clicked was this. So now I want to frame, line up based on, this is the reference based on the left. Now all those graphs will left justify, where did I frame, line up on the left to that one.
That's the first page. You didn't touch that one. You're on the second page.
But I could have done that to all of these, just gone like here to here. Whoop. Oh, I'm hitting control instead of this one, this one, this, this one.
One below it. Oh, I missed them.
Then you can move them all together. You can do that. There's a bunch of ways you can do it, but you can just highlight them and then shift them all
I tried
together.
doing control and it wasn't selected.
Oh, it wasn't?
That I noticed.
But, you know, they do this frame justification if you got them highlighted. The green one is the reference one, so if you want to size to that reference, both directions, the height and the width, or if you want to position it, you can do it within, you
So
know,
you can make all your graphs the same size.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was a pain in the ass. I got them fairly close, so they look easy
Yeah.
by trying to.
So, like,
once
again-
you get the one, you can say, okay, resize them all. To
so
this.
now if you do shift and say go here, here to here, and this is the one I want as my reference, which is the last one I clicked was in the green. I can size them based on the width, the height, or both. Now they're the same height and width. It's just pretty printing.
Yeah.
But it's quick, because if you got a lot of graphs, you can justify them, you can size them instead of trying to do this and trying to pinch them and, you know, go that route.
You get your first layout and then.
Get your first, and then the rest of them fall
I
in
just
line.
wish there was a way to anchor it now, but you move it.
So this is the notch. I put this back to where it was. All I just, as I opened up the border, and I kind of moved things over to the left a little bit. And then I'll hit save, file, save. Now it's updated only from the border and then the justification. I put back the data info. I didn't add the comment, because then I would have to put the statement in over here,
Right.
and I didn't do that as of yet. We can go back and add it later on. So yeah, when you're in the analysis window, it's just basically creating your report, your layouts, justifying things.
I make your logo smaller too.
You don't look at that big.
You don't like.
It's a lot of blue ink if somebody prints it.
So there
For no
is,
reason.
there's a master page layout,
Yeah.
and that's his logo there, and I can now move it up to the corner, and I can shrink it a little bit. And then when I go to page, save the master page layout, I don't know where he had it
I
saved.
didn't have it. I just had it saved in the
I'll call this
file.
means. I'll call this means, and I'll save it. Now it's save it, and then I'll uncheck it. Now it's just a little bit smaller, and it's more up in the corner. You got a lot. Now you can put your comment box here. You know, you got a lot of room, because this will be downsized. This is just gonna have the date and pertinent information, how it was traced, just like there. But now you'll have flexibility if you wanna do the comments with whatever you wanna do with comments. And it'll prompt it at the beginning, and you can edit it at the end.
Take the text box, put it over here, and change this to instead of name of item and content, put our own header.
You can. I've got customers that just fill in this whole thing,
I don't think you need a header.
Oh,
Cause if
no.
you look at all of those things, they're obviously the title.
Sometimes you
with
gotta
another
dumb
thing
things
as well.
down because some people might not understand. Well, what is this?
but I have a customer that makes their own information where then they hand write it in. So it's one frame, and you can create, it's called, it's called the drawing, and then they can create a box, which is how you're doing this right here, right? And they create a box there, and then they just type in on underscore the line, you have lines and arcs and circles and stuff like that, and they leave it just for the operator to hand write, but it's a fixed,
After they print it?
yeah.
They print it and then they write it in.
Yeah. Yeah, they do it that way. But all that up at the top is all just a box that we use this text. And then within that, they created all the lines, and then operators just fill it in by hand. Which doesn't make sense to me, because when you save it, you have to print it or copy it or scan it to save it with the info. I don't know why they do that. Okay? All right. 10:50. When do you take a break? Do you take a break? You tell me. When do you guys go for lunch?
I go
What
whenever.
Go. Everything is whenever. Okay.
For me it is, I don't know about you guys.
I'll continue. If you
You
want
guys
to take
go at 11 or
want to take a
11:30?
5-10 minute break,
Usually.
I'm good.
you're good. Okay. All right. So right now, this shows what's currently open. Here's this blank. This was my report, which just had a single roughness measurement. And the little blue arrow means that it was recorded in the CNC. All right? It was recorded, so it can be rerun, because this blue arrow means that it's just an icon that means it was recorded as a CNC program, because there it is right here. It's in this line, and then stop command is, I'm not gonna, no matter what I do, it's not gonna add any additional commands to the bottom. The insert means that it would insert above. Now that I have one line, I can insert above. Add to the bottom is that. CNC setting.
When you added the comment, the prompt,
Yes.
you,
I went over to this. This is called, what is this? This is data clear. It clears out all the data in the sheet. This is subcommand. What is a subcommand? Oh, it's the same thing that we see if I go to this editor. And this is how I usually start off, where I'll put that comment. If I put that comment, it goes there. And then maybe I want to put a pause. And here a pause, I want to put load part in fixture or whatever, fixture holder, and position for position for measure. I don't know. And then I'll put then continue. A lot of times what I'll do is I'll put a load part and fixture and position for measure, see photo as shown. Okay? Then I can put then continue. And I'm gonna load off my jump drive on my pocket right now. And I usually put this as red so it stands out, and I usually make it bold and at least 14 font. But you can change all your font. And here's your image, and usually it's a JPEG or a bitmap. And then, you would have maybe a file folder in general that has photos, right? Pictures here. I don't know what's in pictures.
Nothing right now.
No, okay, so let me do this, I'll say okay, enter file name, I'll have to turn this off. But you just point to a file, right? So now there's the pause with that loading prompt. When I say okay, it's gonna update this list.
So you have to do the command edit, but at one time you clicked on, I thought you clicked on something called joystick.
Yeah, now joystick exists, joystick is just like pause, where you can put a picture prompt and an operator directive, you know. But in the measure window, we have a separate command that looks just like it, where you put, again, a prompt to the operator and a picture, but this is exclusive for the CNC run so that the operator can actually physically override the program and the run to make a physical move of the machine. It gives them operational control of the machine. The pause is just a prompt.
Okay.
The joystick, which is in the measurement window, which is part of controls, allows them, while the program's running, you can prompt them to do something. Typically, put the stylus here, move to your start point.
I just didn't know where you
Got it.
clicked that before.
Yeah, it's down here on this tray down here. Give me 2 seconds. Let me do this. Let me go here. Let me go here. Copy. And let me just put it under, for right now, data. Okay. So now, this pause, I'm going to point to C data. It's in this folder here, and I want to look for JPEGs, right? I don't know. I'm just gonna point to this one. So now it's pointing to some file folder directory. You can make a folder called setup photos for the actuator, for the housing, for the notch plate, for the whatever plate you have. You can create folders, and then you're just pointing to that folder, right? So now when you execute the program, if I run step through and just do this command line right now, so I can run from this point, highlights it now with a green button, which means you can execute it. Now I have load the part in the fixture holder and position for measure. See photo as shown, then continue. Now you have exactly the part where you want it set, if it's something specific, and it prompts you like this. And I have a lot of customers doing this for operator runs. Do you do it on that? Do you do it on your
right now,
CMM?
nobody else is running it.
Oh,
So,
oh, okay.
but I do have photos of different things, not everything, but
Yeah, you can take it on your phone. You gotta dummy it down in Paint because the files are so big. I just have I have some, we can take some pictures. I have it in my briefcase. I just have an old thing, and I just put
Point and shoot,
VGA or
yeah.
email, click, 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 JPEG, and then you just
Yeah.
do this, and it's so simple, and you just tell the operator, you can be as descriptive as you want, and then you can show your picture where you want them to put that. If you're gonna write some, routines that are, like this. And then you'd have a couple joysticks this would be under joystick. This one is strictly just loading the part. The other joystick would be move to this surface, position 1, position 2, position 3. So, first trace, second trace. I saw that you had multiple traces.
Right.
So you'd want to go to the next surface, go to the next surface, go to the next surface, and you can show that. It could be the same picture. You can just prompt the operator next picture. If you don't, here, if you don't put a value in for pause time, it's just gonna wait there until the operator says continue. Or stops or pause, you can do that. If I put a timer, let's say 10 seconds, and now I wanna run this. So now there's a countdown. They better read this and do it within the allotted time because the program's just gonna continue without them to hit continuous pause, right? And now it's gonna start to measure. Well, I have it in steps, so it's not gonna do anything until I hit the step again. But then it would go on and measure. So you gotta be careful. Typically, you don't put a time. If you do that, you give the top operator a lot of times. If they get interrupted or whatever, you don't want the program to start running. But if it's something that, you know, they've already done multiple times and you don't want them to dwell on it, they know what they have to do, you can just have it prompt. They see the picture, they know what they're supposed to do, and it's just like a 5 or 3 second countdown. And then the program continues and assumes that they've moved it to the next location. But you can have a countdown here, so I can stop the program. And then I would put this back at 0 value. And now it's just gonna wait there until they do continue. That's why I put then continue, because that's one of the prompts. Continue, pause, or stop what you're doing. And then again, you're just pointing, you don't have to play sound. And I always leave this on analysis. You don't have to have a dialogue, but you'd want to have a pause, typically with a dialogue that tells them to do something. Okay. Stop. So I'm working within this blank document right now. So that's how I'm going here. I call these I call them soft commands kinda. So this is where you do the pause. At the end of the program, you can put a print, and you can print whatever your default printer is, whether it's a printer or a network printer or a PDF. You're gonna do a PDF,
Okay.
right? And then you can dump it into a folder. You can put the directory, and then the operator can just name the folder. You know, if you put on here Adobe, if you put on a licensed copy of Adobe, then you have the options here when you do Adobe to pull any content from your comment box to do your file saving for print. If your printer is now a PDF printer, well, that's what this is. It's a PDF printer. Then you can create. I'll see if I can do that. See, it says there's no Adobe installed. Okay, but here it is. So now you can send it to whatever folder you want, and the file name, you can now document the file name by inserting whatever comment you want. So let's say the file name, you want that serial number, and you want the name of the part. Typically the file's gonna already have a date and time, but you know, you can, now you have this comment number 1 and number 3, which is your serial number and name, and then I wanna have a date, time, you know, and then maybe
But you have to have a licensed version on there to use this.
yeah, to use that. That was the warning.
Okay.
Right, and then maybe, you know, when you want to put the document name, which would be blank, or not blank, you called it actuator, you know, that's the program. So now when it saves this, and you probably want to move this to the end, so you know, you can move this up and down just by left mouse click and then just grab it and scroll down, right? Or you can highlight it and you can arrow it up one, or you can arrow it down. Most of the commands you can highlight and copy, and then whatever's highlighted, it would paste, you know, right above this line. So if I hit paste, so it put me the same comment, it put and copied it and put it right, pasted it above that line. Or you can delete it. So you can reorganize the sequence. You can copy and paste, you can cut, you can delete, you know, whatever you want to do here. You can save the file itself to a directory, right? Here's the comment, which is what I added at the very beginning. This one, comment, limited edit, so that, you know, you don't see everything that's available. You know, there's a lot of options. You can just show the ones you want to show, which is like,
Probably what we want to do, rather
What-
than showing the list of
yes,
comments.
yes. So they don't see everything there. It's just the ones that you want. Save selected frame is another soft command, I'll call it. Later in the data, I use what we call an analysis summary, and it's all the results with tolerancing. And you can have all the measured results export to a text or CSV file. So the program looks to what you've tagged as an export frame, one of those boxes, usually it's the measured values. And then it looks to the report what you've tagged, and I can show you how it's tagged. And then what it does is it sends it out automatically for export. So that's save selected frame. System call gets you to do wild things where you can start up other programs. Okay, you can go out and initiate like PowerPoint or do something else for communication. All right, so I don't think we need to worry about that now. Stop, you can create loops, jumps. This is the PDF. And then, so these are the main ones that I use. You can, you know, sometimes programs get long, so you can group until it gets into, and then it expands and opens up and then closes based on commands. But these I call soft commands, which you can make part of your program, and we've already used the comment and the pause we're using right now. Well, I don't know if you need to export data, but I can show you that down the road. We can do that. Printing, you may want to do that. I don't know what you're doing for printing.
It's saving, right now it's just saving it to a PDF.
Yeah,
Through
okay.
the print save,
Okay,
the Nova print, whatever.
okay.
So,
So then, yeah, you could put the print command at the bottom, and so you want to print all the pages, and usually we want that to go down at the end, right? So if your default printer is your Nova, right, it's a PDF, right? It's like a generic PDF? or
yeah,
Off the,
it's a print to PDF type.
yeah, yeah, I know what Nova is, yeah,
So
so.
it'll show up when you double click that, what is it, prompts.
It only shows all pages, but when I execute this,
Okay, so
Then
like
it-
my file name is the part number, receiving inspection, the day, month, year, and shipment number. That's just so I have
yeah,
a quick, you can just, rather than trying to type it all out, change the X's and dates and such.
so then you have it going
Right now
to
it's
this
just the
location,
reports.
reports.
And then until we get it on the network, I'll just thumb drive it over and put it in the network reports.
Okay, so he's got it right under here, user, public, reports, okay. So yeah, so now, if I was to do this program,
Okay.
yeah, now that's the
So down at the
report.
bottom it says Nova printer because we don't have a
Yeah.
license version.
Right, right. So like now, if I wanna do this, and I don't have the logo up here, cause I didn't open up, I didn't have that prompted, where it's, master page setting. I wanna look, I think it was this one,
Yeah.
open. So it's just this logo in this page, but now if I say open a master page, it's gonna open up this one as the default. But I'm not worried about that right now. So if I wanted to run this again, so here's my comments. I don't know the number here, I type in a number. Serial number, that's my serial number, operator, Tom again. I don't have remarks checked on this, but I could put the remarks in here, right? And then I could put, well, there's one in here already, PPAP. So that's all there. Here's my prompt, no countdown, it's just gonna say move Oh, this is a load the part. So load the part in the fixture and position for measure. So this is just to load the part. Actually, this is not. So I can hit, really, see, this doesn't move. I can't move it, it's just a prompt. And this was to load the part. And see, it's ready to measure because I didn't put a command in here. I'm gonna stop it. And so what I'm gonna edit here is right above here, I can go edit. Here's where that prompt was, joystick above the surface, right? No picture. So now, if I run it from that point, here was that, load the part. Now it says joystick, now I have control to move it. Just because here, I don't even do an auto stop. I forgot the auto stop. So here's, I'm gonna have to joystick it to the surface until it stops. And then I wanna move it over a little bit to the start. That's where I wanna start. Now I hit continue. And so now it'll do the measurement. There was no auto stop, like what you had. So I have to joystick it to the surface is what I prompted. Now it's gonna make the trace. That's gonna probably give me an error because we don't have Adobe on it right now.
Oh, yeah.
Yep, failed because it's not installed. But then it goes, I can just hit continue.
No,
Oh,
yeah, I like the regular print.
and then this is yours, the Nova.
Okay.
Then you can save the report.
Standard, yeah.
Yeah, I'll cancel this,
I don't-
right? I don't care. And then your,
Oh, if you wouldn't have canceled, it would have showed the report
Right.
afterwards.
but there's the
Yeah.
result, right? But I would have deleted this. I wouldn't have put this information. This stuff
Right.
would have been there. This is,
Did you have to update the chart?
what's that? This one?
This one. Did it automatically update?
Yeah,
Yeah.
cause you put
Okay.
in that number, 9877.
Yeah.
Okay,
and I
cause
put
I seen
Tom.
you click something and then it changed, that's all.
Yeah. No, I
Oh, you
put it-
read
Auto
resize,
adjusted.
okay,
Yeah, this was already something I just
right.
fingered in there. I changed from Tina to Tom, I
Unless I
typed it.
clicked in remarks.
Oh, here, because on my report, cancel. Here, so you, okay, let me take one step back. You have the menu bar, which has all the functions, right? For your analysis and what you're doing. Then we have the toolbar, which is all this, and I'm gonna, when we take a break, I'm gonna clean that up and save it. There'll be one for the measurement window, and there'll be one for the analysis window, and I can save it. But you see this third row, menu bar, toolbar, and this is, they call a smart bar. So that is if I click on anything in the report, now it shows up. And this line is not case sensitive, content sensitive to whatever I've selected. So this is that data info. And so I can turn off this. Here's my box for my comment, and there's my remark for the PPAP, but I needed to check mark that. So now it shows, so that's what I want to see in there, right? Here's my parameter, so I can put, boxes around it. I can shade it in if I want to shade it in. I can add more parameters. So if you click here, and now roughness, you have profile and roughness. So profile parameters you can do, which are unfiltered parameters. I can go back and we can talk about a little bit of surface texture basics. But under roughness, these are now filtered, where profile parameters are unfiltered. Define what's the print and what's the dimensioning that you want to result in your graph. This is a roughness graph or surface texture graph. The other one we'll change it and you'll see the profile and we'll do dimensioning, okay? So These display items are what you want to display in your report. Right now, this graph here, I think, is this multiple graph. And right now it's showing roughness. That's this one right here. I just added a graph, right? I'm gonna delete it. So you can just right click and delete. Okay,
So I hit delete on the keyboard.
yeah. So mainly you're gonna use this graph, and then these are all a bunch of analytical functions, right? This parameter calculation result are these, right? Display my calculation result. There it is right there again. I just added it, and I'm just gonna delete it again. And it's coming from this graph. There's only one analytical in this report. I only made one trace. There's only one analytical, as I explained before in the data pool. So you're only gonna work with this graph. This is only profile, which is unfiltered. We want this one, which gives you the ability to look at the filtered and the unfiltered. So this is your parameter. Judgment, you can go here for RA, and typically it's average, and let's say, I don't know, let's say the limit is gonna be 2, because usually it's an upper limit, usually. So 2 microns is the upper, the lower is 0. And we're basing it on, let's just work with average. And now here, this box changes. It's the same box like this, but if you want, this is one way to do it. I'm gonna show you another way I think I like also. But you're trying to, get to this report here. This just justifies and puts it in there. And then this will bring it up. So I only clicked the one parameter, and on this one, where is it? I can say no good, and it'll be red, and okay is gonna be green. Let's put this green, and then let's make it bold, 12, and we'll make this bold, 12. And at least it says okay based on whatever tolerance I put in. So it gives you the value, says okay, and then it gives you a little nomenclature like that. And then if it's no good, it'll say no good, plus or minus, whatever it is. This is one way to do it. There's also another way to do it, which is what we call under drawing, it's called judgment, is like tolerancing. You'll see that word used. And you can put this watermark, as long as everything's okay in the report, then this is kind of like a watermark. You can use that. But what we want to do is, you can create kind of like a summary box. This is a summary box, and we don't want any profiles, and we want only the RA, and then we do the same input here too. And now we can have a box here. And so this would be a number of different,
You put tolerance 0.
yeah, because here I could put the tolerance, and then here, like for roughness, I can, where is it? Oh, 0, 2. 2 again, I'll put 2. Okay. So it says okay here. That's the one graph. Analysis, symbol, RA, upper. We don't want a nominal. So I'm just
Yep.
cleaning this up. upper tolerance, out of tolerance, okay. I don't know, upper, lower, out of tolerance, something like this. And now this would be tabulated if you had a bunch of them and you can tolerate each one. And I think, where is it? This is what I use to tag. So if I label this as side A, I think.
Well, it wants to fill it in down there.
See, now I gave this one analysis if it was side A, side B, datum A, ID, OD, chamfer, whatever. You can label these, and then when you do this, it tells you what the side is and then the parameter and the tolerancing, and I can export this too. That's another way to do it. Instead of looking at all these boxes from whatever, I can make one box as a summary from all those graphs, all those analysis measured.
So,
I can take all these and put them into one and tolerance them all. And that's another, there's a lot of different ways to do it. So then over here, I could, even here, I could call this, you know, I'm just gonna say part 1. And expand it. So they could say part 1, side A. Then it was part 2, part 3, part 4, side A, side B, datum A, ID, OD, whatever you want, chamfer. So then this label would be everything in a, it's like what you do in Calypso, you kind of see it like it's a tabulated. Instead of looking at each individual one, you can do that.
look at this. Go to your parameters.
There's been no,
Which one?
FDR submitted for approval. This has been approved by the board of trustees.
I have to turn it on or turn it off.
Spend it all because they need money from an extension.
Legend is the roughness curve.
Okay, yeah, there's the roughness curve, yeah.
So go back to.
Yes.
Get which one it was.
Clear.
So turn off the legend. Turn the legend off. And it's analysis data information, turn that on. Okay, so let's say roughness part 1.
Yeah.
So I can get rid of the little tag that says, I had a box that said front, I could just put in there, so I label them. It'll be part 1, front and back, roughness front, roughness back, get rid of that little tag.
Yeah, you could, because this is tied with what you have here, and that's a label. It shows like a piece of paper with a pencil, and so then you can type it
Because I
in
think
here.
I've labeled them, and
Then
I
that
think
can
it
carry
wasn't
over
showing up
to the
anywhere.
graph, and it can also carry over to that tabulated here. This can go in multiple areas. If you label it here, then you can turn it on in other
What is
areas.
the A1, just analysis number 1, 2, 3, okay. So,
Analysis data 1.
so if they wanna look, oh, that's this one, make sure they get the right one.
The right graph with the
Right.
right data, the right result, you can do it.
You might have to put a separate
Change
tag.
the color. The color, oh, we're kind of do it Zeiss blue. Right? So now you can do it like that in a separate label. And then all I do is take this and I copy it and I go down to the next one, paste, and then I go down to the next one, paste, and I just,
Right.
but now they're separate items, right?
Well, that's.
The
There's-
other way it's associated, it's always associated with your box.
It's always based on this label, whatever analysis it was, and now it's embedded in there. It's not like this separate labeling.
You know, for what I'm just doing there, I guess if you want all the color,
Yeah. I got customers that will do this, and they'll use, you know, the call out number, the balloon numbers on the drawings, right?
Mhm.
So they'll put the balloon number and then whatever. And then now it has here, now if they have a drawing, they have the call out balloon number. Now they know, oh, that's this surface, that's this surface, that's this result, that's this result, that's this result. And they equate it right back to the drawing based on labeling it per the balloon number. And then it's all there. I have customers that just carry everything with balloon numbers as far as labeling and naming. Because then they have a print and they can see what the surface, where the surface is based on the balloon number drawing.
Not all of our prints are balloon.
Them large scale.
PFAB drawings are balloon, sometimes they're balloon given to us, but, so
Yeah.
there's a combination.
And there's flexibility on how you want to do it here, right? You can just create your own little box and label it. You can type it into the label here, which carries over on other functionality. You know, you can use balloon numbers. You can just name it, whatever you want to name it. You can be descriptive, whatever you want to do. But you're right. If I add this box,
In case the motor efficiency thing takes off, I did high.
so it just moves to the, it sees all this was kind of,
Yeah, that's open spot.
it's an open spot, and then I just drag it to where I want. Now I have to deal with this just independently, right? And then it's not locked into this, you know. And then I can move this front and back like you already know. But then, you know, you can just type in and label this and change the font color in the background so it stands out. It's whatever you want to do relative to that. And then I have customers. I mean, they get a lot of time. Well, they'll take clips and copy it in there from the drawing. They'll have open, clip it, embed it in here, and then, you know, they'll do a line like this. Where is it? Here.
Yes.
I don't know why, but sometimes.
And then they'll change that line direction, and then they'll make it an arrow, and then they'll, you know, point to the box label, and then make that line thicker, right? They make it a thicker line, and then they got a snippet clip from the drawing that shows maybe the balloon number and the surface, and then they put the arrow there pointing to that. This is the result in that. You know, they go to that level of bringing the drawing into the report for the engineer, and then, you know, draw the line saying, okay, from the snippet, this is your balloon is in that little snippet, and then the surface, and the, you know, maybe it has the checkbox with the call out, and they bing, and then that has the nominal value, you know, with the check, like a 32 finish, a 63, an 8 finish, 16 or whatever, and then they point it. I mean, it's overkill. I mean, they
So how
just.
did you get to that analysis data table again?
Okay,
That
yeah.
one you added at the
I'm
bottom?
gonna, I'll delete this.
Just one more time.
Yep, it's under drawing, analysis, result, data. I don't know why they didn't put it like under display here, because here's where your judgment is and the result. They put it under
Drawing.
analysis, result, data. And then you could have multiple, right now it only has one. You know, you can, if you had 10 of these, you could just select which ones you want to put into this table, right? And again, it carries over whatever you labeled here. And then from here, you can check mark what you want to put in there. And then each one of those, so if I check mark this and then this one here, I can put my RZ, let's say my RZ is 10. Now,
Okay.
RZ's now part of this one. I didn't add it to this one. But now RZ's there was 10 is okay. So now I added this from part 1, side A. This is the second parameter. So they have the tolerance, they have the actual, they know where it's coming from, what graph it's coming from, if it's okay or not good.
And then the drawing, the very last thing, that's that radio button that sort of, or whatever, that big. If you want to click on the drawing drop down again, the very last item, analysis, judgment, display, that's that big radio green.
Yeah, that's that.
thing?
Yeah,
Okay,
that's
okay.
just like, what do you want to call that? That's just a flag, right? If any one of these were out of tolerance, then it's considered the report's no good. So it'll tag it as
That's
a
only if
no
you have
good.
either that one or the other one's selected.
I think so,
If
yeah.
these were gone, the other one doesn't give tolerances, so that would just probably be like unknown.
Yeah,
So if you
yeah.
deleted the other ones first,
Yeah,
let's say
this
we-
one has
let's
no
say we-
tolerance. It
let's say
has
we
to be,
delete this one. and then let's say we delete both of these. What would it do to that? Well, it still says okay, or do you have to update it?
Maybe I have to update it.
Oh, it still says okay.
Still says okay. So put this on all your measurements.
It's always okay.
It's always okay. I don't know where it's looking at on this one because this isn't tolerance. There's no tolerancing on this
Maybe
report.
because they already had, it was preset at once, so it might,
Yeah.
last time it was okay, so.
Yeah, as a, this is 0.5. So if I use this function, judgment, and I went to the RA and made this 0.1 instead of, right? So now it's no good, and it's on the high side, and now it shows no good. I have customers that use that, just as they pick up the report when it's done. Okay, it's a flag, something's out. Now I can go look in the report, which one was out, and then I can see what parameter was out. If any parameter is out, it's considered no good, the part. You don't have to use that. Again, you could just use this flag. But then you gotta make multiple for each. If you got more than RA, you have RZ, RT, RQ, then you have
So
to
that
have.
other one is I like that other one.
Yeah.
The table.
The table.
Yeah.
I use the table a lot, and if I ever wanted to export it, I don't have to export all these little ones. I like to make it condensed, and I can put all from multiple measurements. I can summarize everything right there. A lot of people want that summary right at the very beginning of their report as a table. Now they can see, okay, I know what's in, what's out, what surface it is, and then I can go down in the report and say, oh, here's the graph. I can look at it. But a lot of them want to see the results. When they pick it up, I want to see all the results, what's good, what's bad, which one is good, which one is bad, and they'll put that at the very beginning. I think like in the Calypso, it's more tabulated right at the very beginning, and you have all your results and tolerance, right?
Yeah, it's got up at the top where, especially in PyWeb in the header, you could say how many things it checked and how many are out.
Okay.
The-
So yeah, I would recommend that way of doing it. I think it's the easier way of doing it. So now look at it change when I deleted it. When the default's an okay report.
Well, default's okay because there is no tolerancing.
Yeah, that's what it's probably doing,
Yeah,
right?
you don't got any tolerance, so it's okay.
But under drawing result, now you have multiple measurement. No, I only have this one. And then you can set up all these, right? And then when you do this, you have that. You just click out here. But I think what it is you just get the RA, the RQ, whatever this header is here, because if you go in here, I don't think you get,
Oh,
you can turn it on, but you only can tolerance for the RQ. This is for like the overall RQ. You can still get the results here, but it's just like RQ, RA, RZ, RP, RT, RZ, So I don't see that. See, like here, you don't get that input. That input comes from this one at the top of the tree. And then there's some judgment rules, but just use average and then set your tolerance. And then, yeah, that's other analysis. And now, I added the RQ, but I didn't put a tolerance in it. And the labeling controls a lot as far as what am I looking at? Oh, I know it's part 1, part 2, part 3, side A, datum A, ID, chamfer, OD, surface, whatever it is. You can be a little bit descriptive there so it makes sense. And then when you don't see it, all I do is hit the auto fit, auto justify, and then it fills it in.
So if you went back and did your tolerance at like 0.4, does it show up for the RA? Or even for RQ?
Okay, this just tells me what I want to do. RQ?
Yeah, sure. But the tolerance I have is 0.4. I just wanna show what that deviation number is.
0.4, okay.
I was expecting it to show like 25 on the deviation, but that must be something else.
Deviation is how far it's out, so this doesn't tell you how far it's out of tolerance.
Hold on one second, out of tolerance, you can move that over.
Okay. So I wonder what deviation is.
Deviation is,
Yeah, this is giving you the delta that you were looking for.
Yeah. But
The-
I expected under deviation.
Yeah, I don't know, maybe it's for another,
No.
it could be, you know what it is? It could be other parameters that don't equate to this kind of format, and it would be a deviation. So from the nominal versus an upper and lower tolerance. So if you're doing these parameters, it would make sense to maybe
Get rid of that.
get rid of the deviation. For
or
sure you want
or the lower tolerance.
yeah, and the lower tolerance is probably not gonna be used either. And then just justify it. Now you have your parameter, what the measured actual value is, if it's out of tolerance based on the limit, and then it says okay or no good, but I don't know why this doesn't change.
Because you're out.
No, color.
Oh.
I want this to be green and red.
I
I-
gotta set it.
Okay, I'm gonna move this, we don't want that out of there. Okay, I don't have to find where this is at. It should be, since this is highlighted, it should be a function of what's in here. And I don't see that
Is
in
it the
here.
color one? Oh, that's what you're clicking on right now.
Fill in, that's the background, that's your fonts, that's your fill. Auto, this is edit. So I can, actually there's, you know, I can move this over a little bit. I can edit the columns, but I don't, maybe,
That's fine. Maybe it's just
Yeah.
not available in that version.
cause see this RA is showing the 0.1 that I had done to change it over here, but it's not this tolerance box here. This is separate for the other judgment that I was doing.
That one automatically changed color.
This one changed color.
But it also, like on this, if it just said okay here, this still said black. If you bring up, make the other one the judgment up here.
Okay, so that would be this, judgment, and I wanna do the RA.
Do it something high. Or low, I mean, at 0.5. Be just under.
0.5.
And then where do you check,
Then-
nope, it went down here.
Yeah,
See, this is still black, that's red.
yeah, this is just the.
Right, but it's on the same line, this text stays black.
Yeah,
But
that's
there's
what I
that
was looking
little
for.
box there goes,
I thought, I'll have to look about that. I thought that would.
this no good still says is black, but that little,
Yeah, that's the labeling.
so it's a different,
Yeah, it's a different function. Shoot, and where did judgment parameter? I gotta remember where I wanna clean this up, but there was one of these that,
it wasn't in there.
this is it. So it's this frame, which I turned on, and then it's called, the display style, the result display style for the tolerance, the judgment, and that's where I did this at. It still has this as black, but then I overrode this for the judgment, and then I did this. But, you know,
That doesn't, this one doesn't have that.
yeah, I would say that if we do judgment,
That's fine.
they should be tied to it,
If
but
you
there's
do
not.
this, you're gonna want the little box.
Yeah, if you did this, then you'd probably get rid of
If you're
this.
doing one result, that one looks fine, but if you're doing multiple things, I think I'd like to take the better.
If you're gonna, right, if you're gonna have multiple traces and dip more than one parameter, the table is nice. Because you can still label it and identify, but it's all condensed in one area. Gosh, I don't know why. I'll ask, but there should be, in this box, since we tolerance, there should be a window in here that controls that color of this, red and green. It should be part of this. But anyhow, so there's where it becomes beneficial. You have more than one graph in the analysis, and having it tabulated is what I would probably think would be a better way to manage it. But again, I don't know if you're exporting. This is the easier way to export to a CSV if you're doing anything outside of this.
That isn't, no. We don't machine, so.
Yeah.
It's not like, hey, we got a bad one. It's-
You're not running control charts and SPC out there constantly and stuff. Okay, then forget about that.
I mean, it's.
But it's just for
it's
viewing
for
purposes.
viewing purposes.
Yeah. So this is my document number 4, and I can draw and insert an image, and he's got,
Oh, too big, too.
drawing, image, insert.
I know I had a problem getting, it was something about the size. I had a couple different ones, I had to resize them.
Yeah, you had to resize them, because I think it's 500 or 800 kilobytes. I just added another page, I don't have to delete a page. So anyhow, under drawing, image, we typically will look at JPEGs.
If you look at the limit, go up there, go to details. Yeah, you can see what sizes they are if you talk. How big they are.
Yeah, so this one right here is that the one you may have?
No, I had,
It still doesn't
I think I
work.
saved it as a bitmap.
Oh, you saved it as a bitmap?
Yeah, let me see.
This one right here is small.
I think that's the one, there we go, that's the one I had to resize it. Cut
Yeah,
it
just-
kinda down.
And then I would just file, save as. And he's got some listed there. I'll call this roughness basic. Something like that, I don't know.
Now, if you had 2 sheets, that icon won't show up on the second one.
This one, no.
That's why I put it on the master.
Yeah,
And I just figured, well, I'll save it to I didn't realize you could save it to a master so you can import it into another one.
yep,
I just saved it as the master and used that as my template, and then I worked from there.
perfect.
So it's,
Yep, carries through.
carries through.
Alright. All I'm gonna do here, this will only take a second, if you go to under Tool, Customize. Icon right now is set to large, but the setting of the toolbar. So what I do is I uncheck all these functions, which are all from the menu bar. And I'm sitting in the analysis window, I'm gonna do this. And I'm gonna say a new one. And I'm gonna call this just means. Means,
Analysis. Just in case it doesn't carry over to the other side.
and then what I wanna do is text and image, and then I wanna put the image under it, let's say. And then you go to the command, so like for analysis, I would maybe open up, you just drag it. And then, you know, you can do, if you wanna update it, you can save, and then I can just move these around. Save as, close your document,
Is it always insert?
yeah. So, I usually put the print up there. Why does it do that? And then edit, you can do, I do the zoom in and zoom out. And then I'm drawing, I do that comment there. Here's that analysis result data. The square if you want to have free typing in of what you want to do. I don't put that in there. I put always the system so I can change things around. The window, I always put the roughness at the very end. I didn't even talk about CNC Manager. I don't know if we'll use it. And then, you know, put the frame in there. I always put the help index in there. For sure, system I have right there. The print there. I always put this at the very end so it's easy to get to. That's how you can toggle between the two windows. I think that's okay for right now. That's the majority of it. Oh, edit, undo, and redo. Okay, so that's that toolbar. It's larger and it's cleaned up. And that's where, you know, you open and close. And then when you have the graphs, you can still click on these and you still all have that function. If you want to add your results. If you did something, you just want to undo it. System, I don't know if you go between inch and metric or decimal displays and stuff like that. The system, you can change that kind of stuff. Print, because you want to print your report. And then you want to go here, get you to this one. And then I go to the same thing, tool, customize. It's on large. Look here, environment. We're gonna change this to red. You'll see this later on. It's used for contour. And then tool, setting of the toolbar. And then the same thing here. I just uncheck. And I'm gonna make my own toolbar. So I say a new one, and I'm gonna call this means measure. Right? And I think I want text and image, and again, under.
Make it easy, put the switch to analysis display first, so you can always put in front.
So, again, we want to open it, and then maybe, usually save and save as I do on the analysis, but we could put it here too. For sure, close. I usually don't do the exit. Master page, new master page if you want to put that up there. Undo is my favorite. I don't know if you need to do redo. I usually do undo. I don't need that, right? Calibration, stylus setting, measurement conditions I use. I guess I could put roughness and then contour.
Does this work, this is the same screen between roughness and contour.
Yeah. And then window analysis goes to the end. And then index. So the analysis is there. I think that's probably the most I would use, stylus. Options, system, we won't go back to general setting. Those are all really non-functional. Oh, peak valley I want. Yeah, peak valley. Okay, so then I do that. So that's the toolbar, it's cleaned up. So now, if I want, I could save, rewrite. I wanna save this toolbar, and I'm just gonna put it under data. So this would be means mesh toolbar, right? And I can save it. In case somebody screws it up or something happens, you can just call that back and give it your toolbar back, right? And then the same on your analysis window, there's a save and rewrite, and I want to save it, and this is going to be means analysis toolbar. In the same folder, same directory, it's where your master page was that I saved. So that's under data. So right now, that's all right here. This was your kind of like your master page template. And now if you ever lost your toolbars, you can just go here and open them back up and they'll all come back. Sometimes it, you know, when you have first shift, second shift, third shift, and you got 20 people running the machine, all of a sudden, shit happens, right? And this is just my folder where I had pictures and already reports, stuff like that, you know, we can springboard from on some of the things that I had done previous. And you can look at some of my programs. Like if I open, that's where you're at. I'm in our data. Let's see if one of these opens. This was just the shaft. Does it open? Yeah. See what I did there? Here's my table. I use that logo. See, here's my data info. Here's my comment. There's just a square that I used for a result data summary. See, all ID, OD seal surfaces, ID roughness chamfer, right? Actual, upper, lower. It gives you a histogram if you're in or out. I didn't put a label there that shows okay or no good. Then I put OD seal surface, detail F, and then I had a little box here that just had the results here, but which one is that? Oh, here it is up here, OD seal, and that's what I called it. See over here, OD seal, I labeled it, ID profile, ID, chamfer, and see I did some that were roughness, but some of them I measured as a contour with a diamond, and then what I did is I extracted off of the surface. This one was the one that I did, we'll get to this, but I traced this surface with a diamond tip, and I did my dimensions, which we'll get to how we do the dimensioning, but in the area, I called this the RA chamfer, I just labeled it, and this one I called the chamfer, or excuse me, RAID, and it points to the area that I'm analyzing for the roughness, right? That's these two right here. And then I did the results. I called it ID bore, ID chamfer, and those were the results of these graphs there. And this one was on the OD and this one, I just measured it as a roughness. But on the contour, I traced it with a diamond to make it valid that I could extract roughness, and that's where this data, where I pulled from this trace for contour, and they came here under the data pool, and now they're underneath something separate because I pulled them out of contour, and now they're their own, where I transferred, they calls it roughness transfer, because I pulled it out of the contour trace. But then over here, you know, here's the two roughnesses. So like if I go over here and I clicked on this graph, see it jump down to that one, jump down to that one. But these two analysis came from these two, which came from this trace. I'm just trying to educate you a little bit on how to understand your data pool. Because, you know, I used a diamond tip for everything, but in this case, from the get-go, I measured roughness because it was only gonna be a roughness trace. So I just measured it as a roughness scan. This one, it was gonna be dual purpose. I traced it at contour, but since I was using the diamond tip, like I did here, I traced it as contour, but then I extracted, and that's where you see this process data. It came out of the contour, but it was valid because my trace was with a diamond tip.
That probe that I put on order, was that a diamond tip one? The little dinky?
I gotta look.
Forget the number.
I gotta look. I'll look for sure. I think I've got it in my briefcase, the sales order. I mean, in theory, I think I could run this if I had the part. Cause here's my CNC. Was that it?
That was it.
Here's my CNC, starting with a comment, with a pause. I reset coordinate just to make sure everything was reset back to machine. This stylus will fail because you probably don't have this labeled properly, or the way I had it labeled on my machine. I had a tool called Standard Short Stylus.
No, we don't, it's called.
See, it wasn't found. So then if I go to here,
You need to go to the stylus.
under stylus setting, it's this one, that's that one.
Right.
So that one would be the one, which is
You'd have to rename it.
I'd have to rename it or just reteach it.
So the program remembers which stylus you used?
No, these are what you have, and somebody put standard and then somebody put long.
Well, I think, when Chris did it,
Yeah,
he named the long one by the part number.
and it's labeled on here, where did I? Yeah, here it is,
It's
here.
labeled on the top of the box. I went through.
But
and
it's
I-
also, it's stenciled there, by the way.
Oh, on the, okay.
The tool number,
I can see that.
oh, you can't? I can't either. But it's on there, and that's the numbers he used, which is off the
You
box.
use it for that, and I think I went through and I just labeled it so that, I guess when someone says standard, it's like then they have to be fumbling through it, but otherwise you could look at, on the box, the serial number, the DS.
The DM84.
Yeah.
Yep,
So
okay.
if it's out of the box, in the box, it's like, oh, I know, well, standard, I got 3, 4 of them, which one is standard?
Right,
So at least then they can look at the box and say, that's the number.
because you have a couple extra styli.
Coming in, yeah.
Yeah.
So this way, when you pull one out, put it back in the box, put the new one in, so you know where it's at, and that's why.
Okay.
I put it
So-
like
So this one was done with, and I didn't change tips. Did I change tips anywhere? No. So this one, it's not in the list. So here's what I can do. I can edit by doing an insert command, and then just do a stylus selection. This tip, set as default, say okay. Now it's here. Right? That's your new one. This is my old one. I'm gonna trash can this, right? and then I'm gonna uncheck this, because during the run, I don't want it to tell me that I've changed tips, I already know. So now, save the document. Now I just edited it. I just reinserted this command line, and I picked from your tool list that tip.
Okay.
That's all I did.
So that's just verifying you have the right tip in there. Is that what you're?
Yeah, I have customers that will put that in the list, and right before there, they'll put a pause that has a picture of the box or the tool on a piece of paper where they take a picture and say, load this stylus. And then it calls up the calibration. This is actually calling up the tool calibration from that list. But before that, load this stylus or mount this stylus. You understand?
Right.
Because I don't have an auto changer. I don't have an auto probe changer. So it's a little Emmanuel, right? It's, and to make it, again, in production, I have to do the picture just so the operator knows, oh, I need to put this stylus in. That's all I gotta do is mount it, and it calls up that tip qualification, and then the program runs. So with the picture, they know which one it is. Or they'll take a picture, and then they'll show this, you know, this number, and then, oh, the operator knows it's this tool. Okay? So that's that tool. Right? Will this run? I don't know.
Well, that's the program we have now is for this part.
Oh, yeah, it was from that part. That's this is the shaft.
The shaft. The pocket plate shaft.
How does this work?
Yeah, you just gotta screw it down. It's a little stiff.
I don't remember, hold on one second, because I'm gonna go jump out just for giggles here, and I'm gonna go to C, data, means. So I just had it horizontal, and this one was horizontal, and then this is horizontal, just a close-up, and then these other parts. So basically, and I had this set up in my office, but basically it's just setting up horizontal, right?
Yeah.
Right? It's just sitting between like this, something like that, right? Looks like it.
I think we just tried to find the scan. Shit.
Are you scanning along this line too? Like
Yeah,
that one of those
yeah,
right
you
up
gotta
top?
find it. It's the top, the outside isn't. The ID is. The ID, if you,
Oh, yeah, okay. Inside, you're saying I wanted to, actually, I had
So
this,
you're one, two.
I had this at a couple degrees.
oh, a couple degrees off?
I think I had it just like 2 or 3 degrees, but it's probably horizontal's fine. You got plenty of range.
Right there.
So that would be, there'd be,
Yeah, this
oh,
tooth, and then
there's one below it.
yeah.
So let's see if something like
You just
this
gotta
would
find the
work.
center of it, right?
I'm guessing here. I don't know where I started here on my program. So if I just get close to center, I should be on a tooth below, right? If I
Yeah.
should.
Yeah. 'Cause
I'm guessing.
one way the,
It's like in between.
there's a gap there, but then going this way, I forget how it is. There's, every so often, the tooth lines up or it'll be a gap in the tooth. 'Cause they're different number of teeth. So certain ones will line up.
Okay, so here's why I had it at a slight angle.
Oh, you mean tipped?
I had it tipped like this
Okay.
for 2 purposes. One, when I scan, I think the front of the face a little bit with the tool,
Okay.
right? Number 1, but number 2 is I'm using this function I haven't talked about because this kind of plays itself more to the contouring side. And this is like a cresting or a crowning function. And so
Oh, like in the calibration where it goes up and over.
yeah, kind of like that. And what I'm doing here is, so if I do this and I'm just gonna angle it, just something I can, because mine I had a little, yeah.
That should be able to go underneath if you lift this up. This one. Let it set on there. Oops.
That may be too high. It could
Oh.
work. It could work, but it may be a little bit too high. Because looking at the view setup, it didn't look like I had it that much of an angle. I probably had it less than 5 degrees. But, wondering if I could, will this work like something that's too much? Actually, this may work. It sits on this little ledge. And that changes the angle. Like this would work. Just as long as right there on that ledge. And then you said I gotta rotate this to that position. And now I can, I'll have to. Oh, right. That's the angle I want. That would work, I think. But it's rolling off.
You have to hot glue it.
Hot glue it, or just I'm going to put something here.
I got it.
So is
Magnets
this
to keep it from sliding.
Oh, yeah. That would
RME
work.
60 to 0 or 60 to 80, is that, if it's outside of that, is it fail to zero
Oh,
lead,
got it.
or what actually tells you what the
RMR
discrepancy is?
60 to 80%.
I know we talked about this when he set up the program. And then you have to look at the definition of what an RMR is, but I think it's gotta be between the 60 to 80%. I'm
Yeah,
not sure
I'll-
what.
The print just says that, what I'm asking is this the measurement that determines if it has zero lead or not?
Not sure.
How do you determine if it?
That's a different analysis. It's not even surface finish.
It's surface finish, but it's not into this machine.
Correct.
You have to put it on a spindle, spin it at a certain RPM, put a string on a certain size.
Yeah, there's a
certain
certain,
amount of
certain
diameter.
methodology
So
to do
nothing
this zero.
from that
lead.
report
No.
that you just showed
No,
tells you it's
everything
zero
above
lead?
that is done,
Okay.
will be done. Let's see if this works. I'm just gonna step through it because I don't wanna crash something. But I think that's probably pretty close to my setup. And this just magnet's keeping it there, but I'll put that magnet there. And I'm just looking, it's pretty square for right now, and I'm center on that.
Right, yeah.
So hopefully that'll work.
Just go over a little bit, right?
So I'm gonna do something like this, file, save this as, and I'm gonna call it X, my version right now. I don't wanna change the original one, right? So I'm just leaving it as that. And let's see what this does. Cause I got enough travel here to get inside, basically where I wanna start. And then it's plenty of travel to come out. So I think I'm good right now. Let's step through and see what we get. And I'll just go step, starts from the very top. Right, I called it shaft number. I just put machine number, operator, Zeiss, serial number. I don't know where I got that from. I just made it up.
That's probably this. Yeah, what that number is.
See, now it's pulling from What is this?
The list.
None of those actually.
It's none of those.
No.
Okay. So I'm just gonna leave it.
Oh. I did it once. If you stop something, oh, there.
Yeah, it's there. So it,
At one time it just closed down.
yeah.
It's like-
So here's the pause. Now I'm just gonna step again. Failed to load, because I had a different directory. Okay, so I can stop the program, right? And here, I'm going to load the shaft. Oh, +1 degrees and the vice clamp is shown. Locate on the left edge of the end stop, then continue. So I think if I looked
In the photo.
in my means, I think it's
I think it's this third one.
this one or this one. Let me just see. This is my pause, because this is my joystick to put the stylus at a start point. That's this one. So this one was, this is just a loaded horizontal, and I took 2 pictures, so that's, I'm gonna use that one, right? I'm gonna use that picture right now. And then this one, I might as well do it, joystick. And this is put the stylus to the top of the chamfer on the right side as shown, which is going to be this picture.
Oh.
So now I've added those pictures. Those are the only pictures. So now I can run it again. I can start there, step. This is my comment, step. Now I have a picture. It's 1 degree, but it's gonna be a little bit more. I may have to alter something later on, but load it. Locate the left edge as an end stop. Oh, I must have, in this clamp, I must have backed it up against the stop. I had it up against a positive stop. Then I reset the coordinate. Because when I do this peak valley, I'm resetting a coordinate. I'm making a part coordinate,
Okay.
right? So I just make sure I go back to the start. Here now I can call up the stylus. So now I can call the stylus because I edited that for your tool library with your name.
So
and-
if it was in the library and it was on something else, it'll tell you, it'll call it out, but it'll also will prompt you to change it.
Well, it gave me an error, so I can't find it.
But no, let's say we had the long one in there.
Yep.
And it says to call it up. Will it just call it up and run, or will you prompt you, hey, it's not been?
I have to put that prompt in there
So-
before.
Okay, so that prompt right there just calls it up.
It just
Even though
grabs.
it's not, but it's not physically in there. It'll think it's in there. Okay, so you could be dangerous.
Dangerous.
Okay.
Dangerous. Yes. That's why you would need a command before that says change the stylus
There.
to this stylus. I didn't put that in here.
If the probe's not in, change it and
Yeah.
continue.
Change to this stylus. Now retract. Goes to horizontal. Joystick command says, and see that's why it's angled. I'm gonna find that edge point between the diameter and the chamfer. So now it wants me to put the stylus right close to that point. Right? Somewhere there, right? Because now it's going to release the probe because it was retracted in the step before. So it releases the probe. That was the command, right? Now it's going to crest that corner and find a max point. I'm using x-axis, and there's a function here I'll talk about, but now it's using a max or min point. Max point is what it's trying to find. And what it's gonna do is it's just gonna move from where I'm sitting right there, it's gonna move back and forth 1 millimeter.
Make sure you do that.
It's just within that window of a millimeter, plus or minus. It's gonna scan, right? And then it finds that point. It moves to that point as a location. And now it's gonna make that point, see these readouts? 0. Now I have a part origin. I reset up here and negated that from the previous run or from a different program. If somebody did anything, I always go back and wipe the slate clean because I don't know where the origin is from part to part to part to part to part. So here, I made a new origin. Now it knows where the part's at. And I have just some crappy fixture, right? I've got so many customers nowadays that are 3D printing fixtures up the yin yang. Quick, inexpensive, and it's a way to go. Cheap, and when you got a lot of different parts and stuff, they have a base plate. We have a cross slide table that you don't can index or whatever. But if you lock something down here that has a base plate, you can then just make some easy details. I don't know if you have 3D printing, but man, that's the way to go. All these tool and gauge fixture builders, everybody's doing it on their own now, right? So anyhow, so now we have a 0 point. Now, there's one thing that you can do that we were doing before, which was, I was just putting the stylus, tell the operator, put it here, and we were just gonna do 5 samples or 6 samples. Or I can change that sample length from 5 or 6L to a value, 4 millimeter, 5.2, I can type in a value. So this one, now I have a 0, it's going to move to specific start and end points from that 0. So the start point's minus 6.3, the end point is minus 0.5. And so that's another way to make a trace length. Based on a 0 set, I can move to and stop and start at specific locations. So that's what I'm using here. I'm moving slow. My total length's 5.8, and I'm just gonna run that step right here. Look at it, went right to the end, because I wanted to get that diameter. And it's gonna be from that 0 point, it's just gonna stop just before the chamfer. And it goes to the next step. So that was my first surface on the OD. And what do I do here? I retract plus 1 millimeter. Boom. And then I move in the X relative 10 millimeters. This could be an absolute, but I'm just doing a relative 10 millimeter. And then I'm going down, here I'm going absolute from my 0 on my column, minus 41 millimeters. So, perfect. So that column move was absolute from where my 0 was, right? So, we'll just try it and see what happens. But now it's gonna move in X absolute, which is based on the 0, to location minus 15. And the part's tilted back, so it's opening, right? And then I release the probe. I'm releasing the probe. See, it says release. It releases the probe. Now the probe went from up here down, and it's touching. And now I can make a contour trace, but I have a diamond tip. So there's where I can pull the roughness out of here, because I do want roughness on some of those surfaces. But again, let's see what I'm doing here. I can't remember if I scroll here. This is also using start and end point for a measurement. It's going to a specific location, and it's going to end at a location to make my trace. And so I'm going to do this. So now it moved back a hair because I released the probe and I got back to my start point. I did that on purpose. This is coming off of that spline on the inside. I can't see it. If I moved over, I probably could have shifted this whole thing out so I could see it. Then it's coming down that tooth face on that spline. And then it's coming into another surface. Oh, there's a chamfer or an angle there. Now it's in the ID here. I don't know how far it goes. It comes right to that inside chamfer. Okay, this is okay because I'm not exactly set up on the calculation. This is an error that you'll get sometimes.
Fell off.
No, it didn't fall off. This is when I did my contour analytical, my 0 point just got to get refined a little bit. then it'll run. Because this is just an open setup. We don't even have a dedicated fixture. So I'm just gonna say, okay, it's just a warning that says your analysis is gonna be wrong. It's just because my 0 point in my analysis is off. So now, here is the retract. So it's gonna lift the probe up to horizontal, which gets it off the surface for safety, so I'll run that. Lifts the probe. And then it's gonna move out, X relative, it's just gonna move 10 millimeters out, so I clear the part. Boom, I cleared the part. And then it's gonna move up 70 millimeters relative on the column at high speed, and the part's tilted, I'm clear of the part, so this is just gonna move up. Okay, so oh, so look at this. On the dimension here, it showed an error, but it's red. So things will go red here if it's an error. But this is on the contour. That's why. On the roughness, it didn't do it. But, you know, this one was okay. This one was no good, just by a hair, 1.041. This was just a hair, 0.59, 0.50. So here's your out of tolerance. Okay. All this other stuff will fall in the line here in a second. So there's your roughness. Oh, there's a little glitch right there. And that threw off this calculation. So I don't know what's this there. And now here's the contour. I'll get into the contour in a second, and all this will fall in line. So this contour, there's a calculation error. This line, it couldn't find this line, and then it couldn't do the other
The
analysis.
lead-in chamfer.
Huh?
The lead-in chamfer on the tip, because it looked like it didn't. I thought it comes, there's a little chamfer on the inside.
Okay, but watch, I'll resolve that here. So now we're jumping out of roughness into contour, right? So I'm in the analysis window. After it made the measurement, executed, it told me I had an error. Here's the error. It says, yeah, we couldn't find this line that you first defined. And now I can click on this frame, because all my other analysis is going to come from this trace. And then you can click here to the analysis. This is like a sub-analysis. Or you can just double click with your left mouse right anywhere in the box. And it opens up a sub menu, which is all your geometric functions that we can do. And right at the very beginning, oh, it started to do this, and it did set an origin. So this line, we'll see what happens here in a second. But, and I gotta fill your favorites box here. This is what I'm gonna do too in a minute. But I created a line here, and then I did another line, and I intersected the line to get a point. Let's see where I originally was. So if I go here and I right click and recalculate this line, I'm gonna open this box a little bit. So I had a green, here's a tick mark here, it's hard to see, green there, and a green line, green point there. So that is probably not the right line I want between, it's taking all the points between. I'm trying to remember now where I did that line. I think it was this line. I can just close this. Let me see where this line was. I don't remember. Oh, shoot. I don't even see. Oh, here it is right here. It's these 2 points here, which I thought, if I'm recollecting, the first the 2 points were in here, and then these 2 points were there. I think it's this line and this. I do a intersection at that point, and I rotate level to this line because there's I set an origin there, and I level to that. Right now it's off, so I can reteach that. I'm thinking right now these 2 points go over here. So I'm gonna reteach this, and if I do my alignment right, everything will fall into play. So I'm just gonna close this and say, just leave it, yes?
No, if that's off center, that would it make a difference because they're going, instead of going straight down the center line, we're going off center? Could that throw off some?
It could if I wasn't on the right trace line. But let's see what happens here. I'm just gonna right click, recalculate, and instead of picking down here, I'm gonna pick up here, align. And then this other line here, I'm gonna highlight and right click, recalculate, and I'm gonna put the line on this surface. And then it creates an origin point there, and then it leveled to that first line, which was this, and it's still not right. This line was not found. So that was probably not unless my profile's different. See, this is why I named it different, right? This is why, I can open this up again, just take 1 second, open the document. Which one, it was a shaft. This is my original one. Oh, no. Open document.
No, it was under data. Or no,
Data,
or no, it wasn't.
mean shaft X. This is me. I wanted this one.
Yeah.
Sorry, I couldn't see that one. So this is my original one, right? See, that's what my profile should have looked like.
So the
Oh,
very first.
here's my 0s here. So it was this line and this line on this chamfer, and then a little bit of
This is-
falls.
This is the front chamfer on the lead-in,
So
and I
you
don't
need to
think
put,
it's.
you just need to put those,
Yeah.
two different lines.
Yeah, I thought it was up here, but my profile still looks different
Yeah.
because I have a little bit of data there, and then I think this is the spline tooth coming down into the diameter, and then this chamfer, and then I just fell off a little bit. I think
Too high.
I don't have my other profile. Now I know where my alignment is. Okay, it's off of these two surfaces, and I'm leveling off of this surface, and it's still going to give me some errors because I don't think I can get to these distances because I don't have that front face. I don't think I saw it fall off. I didn't even do that, right? I didn't get to that chamfer. Why was that? Bear with me. I'll go back to this one, right?
See, I think the front chamfer should be way down the right, but it didn't.
No.
It didn't fall off.
It didn't
It's
fall-
like it got caught too much of the spline.
I got too much of the spline. But if this was my 0 point, it should have moved back to the right distance, and then I should have gotten that whole profile. Is that not the case?
Or is it because it's too tilted?
Or because it's the angle? I'm more of an angle than the 1 degrees, because I only had a slight angle.
Go back to that other one. That other one.
Here, let me do this real quick though. Let me do this. And I'm gonna recalculate, and it's gonna be this surface. Well, I don't even have that drop off, so I can't really do it. I see that. My trace is off. Go back to the other one.
Yeah. Because, that 44-degree angle, like, I don't think you have the little bit of the line,
No,
yeah, going there. And that's,
I don't have,
that's important,
yes, I don't have this. I think I have this, right?
Yeah.
yes.
You
And then
basically
I
have-
don't have this.
You basically have more of the spline and then it stops just about there. So it couldn't calculate that line to this line because it's this line here.
But he doesn't even have this flat here.
I don't even have
either.
that. I don't have that short
And
segment.
this angle is.
No, you
I think so.
got two angles
I miss,
because there's another angle there. There's 3 angles. There's this one coming off the spline, this one.
Oh, you're saying we're way too far back.
We're too far back, and it might be because of the
angle.
last one was starting about there, and then you use this amount, fell off.
Yeah, this was the rest of that chamfer and then the fall off. So why was that? Was it, boy, this is a lot, because from the 0,
That's
all
a
the,
lot,
that's
yes.
a lot. That's a lot of surface. So what happened with my measurement, -15 and that's almost 3 millimeters, so that would have been 18 millimeter trace. Why did I not get that surface? Because my 0 was found up here, and it made this trace perfect on the OD. So I know that that length was right, but when I moved and went down and went onto the inside,
It's too far out, so you started farther back.
I started
Because
farther
you're-
back because of the angle.
You know,
So all it is this angle needs to be a lot less.
instead of going up
Yeah, do it on the teeth in the front.
Say that again? Show me.
So clamp it on these teeth, front to back, so just have it, like that. You know, like that.
You clamp it like that. Oh, I see. Okay. Maybe that, and then it's holding it, right? And then I can adjust the height based on that. Because, yeah, now see with that spacer, it was higher up, now it's down a little bit.
So let's,
I just want like one degree, just a little bit of angle. Let's see if this works.
That's a lot more than one blue.
but that's a lot better than what it was.
Let's see what it does. It'll only take a second to run through it. And then we'll shoot for a break. It's 12 noon. We've covered a lot, but let's just take a break. So let me run through it again. Let me just check to see our center line.
Back.
Like this direction, right?
Yeah, that should be good.